Let's see here for the stuff that's slated to come out, and we'll. I think what I'll do, I'll look over things really quick here off my predictions as well. I will give predictions here for what I have early out, but the ones that are not slated for release, we'll just talk about them before we get into the predictions. How about that? We'll just go by what's on the calendar right now, and then we'll go from there. I'm not sure about this one, The Woman King with Viola Davis in the lead role. The marketing is not really selling me right now. I'm sure it can be a really good story, but just right now, it's like it just doesn't really feel like something that interests me that much. I don't know if I'm probably not the target demographic for that, but still, I don't know. We'll see. It is playing at TIFF, so we'll see if it can get a. I think it's going to play like right as it opens, which is generally not a good sign. So I'm not very optimistic about that one's chances. Another one, surprisingly, I'm not very optimistic about is Don't Worry, Darling, from Olivia Wilde, whose first film, Booksmart, had a shot to get one of those screenplay nominations that year. I think Knives Out probably did beat it out, but it was still like, it was one of the two that was going to get it, the nomination there. And with this one, I do think just the scope we've seen on this one, as far as some of those wide shots and stuff, and this one will play, I believe, at least at Venice. I don't believe it's at TIFF, but it's at Venice. Which I think is a sign of strength of the film. If it was opening just at TIFF the way that like Goldfinch did, then we know, that could be a bad sign. But it's playing on September the 5th at Venice, so that'll be a few days into the festival, which is it's like 18 days after or before release, I should say. But I think it's Matthew Libatique is the cinematographer who's gotten. I counted this up. 3 nominations, I believe, previously for cinematography. Black Swan. Oh, just the 2. Black Swan and A Star Is Born. But yeah, just right away some of the wide shots in this, I'm like, okay, Olivia Wilde is more comfortable now. She's gotten her first film out. Now she can do something that's a little more, has a little bit, more adult cast. Booksmart was most about kids, But this one, it's like you've got Chris Pine, you've got she plays a role in it. You've got Gemma Chan, you've got Harry Styles and Florence Pugh, of course. She's in the lead role, and this very much has that very much a Stepford Wives feel to it and stuff from the advertising there. And the trailers are intriguing. This probably will be the next film, other than the stuff I have to catch up with. This probably will be the next film I see in theaters, but. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to lay it all on the, lay it out there and say I think this is a Best Picture nominee, a director nominee, an actress nominee. I don't know right now if it's one I would put a lot of stock into. That's not to say it's going to bomb. It's not going to, get anything at the Oscars. But I can see a possibility where some of the later stuff comes out in November, December, from some of the smaller platforms and stuff, and kind of buries this one. And it is in September. And as of late, some of these September films, as far as getting some potential with Oscars, again, let's go to the Goldfinch. They've been disappointments. There's some surprises, like Hustlers, which didn't end up getting anything, but still, that was a surprise one. Ad Astra, that had some possibility there. Judy, yeah, that one got just about what it was expected of it. Let's see. White Boy Rick, which I don't think everybody was jumping at the seat on that one saying that's going to be an Oscar winner. But yeah, Old Man and the Gun, that's probably a better example. Yeah, that was one where it's like, yeah, you could have seen that getting in for Redford, potentially for some other stuff, but it just didn't hit. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not saying that's the destined fate for Don't Worry, Darling. It could surprise us and actually be not only one of the better films of the year, it could be one that sticks around, but just right now, I'm not confident enough to say that. Blonde, the biopic about Marilyn Monroe, with Ana de Armas in the role, and some people I know are very critical of this, where they're like, I don't want people of other ethnicities playing somebody else, stuff like that. With this one, Ana de Armas is a knockout, so I don't care. Frankly, I don't care. And Marilyn is one of those. It's like, yeah, I get why she was such a big thing at the time, big sex symbol and stuff. But I think if you get to a modern equivalent, Ana de Armas is an argument for sure for like who's the modern day of that. And after I've seen her work not only in Knives Out, where she is a pretty non-sexualized role, and she really did very well in that. And then to see her be a standout, an absolute standout, and a little more sexualized and with her dress and stuff in that one, and her wardrobe with No Time to Die, I'm like, she can do it both. So Marilyn, I think on her best day, she could do both too. She could be a serious actress, but she could also be a really good bombshell, kind of fun role, So, so absolutely, I say that one I'm interested in. The fact that it's NC-17, I'm going to save some of my more, not misogynist, but more of my comments for that, for a more private thing. But yeah, we'll see. It's almost a 3-hour film, which makes me a little like, okay. And it's coming out from Netflix, though, so I'll be able to just stream it or whatever there when it comes out. But still, yeah. I'll tell you one, I know it's not going to be an Oscar player. I'm kind of intrigued for what they're going to do with Hocus Pocus 2, though. I'll just mention that one. Okay. I'm very curious, though, about The Greatest Beer Run Ever, which is Academy Award winner, 2-time Academy Award winner Peter Farrelly's follow-up to Green Book. This one's got Zac Efron, Russell Crowe, and Bill Murray. I like Bill Murray has worked with the Farrelly brothers quite a bit, though, over the years, on and off. This one will be at TIFF. I'm curious about this one. I don't know. It sounds like, again, another road movie, which almost every last Farrelly Brothers movie has had something to do with a road trip, so that's not a surprise. And it was not a surprise for them to lean into that with Green Book. But yeah, this one I'm curious about. Again, I'm not going to go out front and say this gets screenplay, director. This does about as well as Green Book did. And as far as wins, oh yeah, we have no idea at this point. But yeah, one of my most anticipated for sure. The return of David O. Russell in Amsterdam comes out in October. They just bumped this one back. It was supposed to come out, I think, the first or the second weekend of November. But now it's going to be out the first weekend of October. The weekend after my birthday, unfortunately. But yeah, that would have been a great birthday present to see a new David O. Russell film. And even though his last film, Joy, really shit the bed and was one of the worst films I saw that year, definitely the biggest disappointment I saw that year, the first trailer for Amsterdam just wowed me. I was just like, yeah. This is a great cast. Let's run through it. Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy, Zoe Saldana, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, Robert De Niro, Taylor Swift, Matthew Schoenartz, Alessandra Nivola, Rami Malek, Andrea Riseborough. Who else is in this movie? Who's not in this movie? And just the kind of playful nature and everything. I'm like, this is almost like a prequel to American Hustle, not just because they have some of the same actors in it, but yeah, I'm very high on this one, by the way. This is the one I know some people, just because David Russell's last film did not work out, enjoy. I think this one could be a bigger player. And, as of late, don't forget, if Christian Bale has a role that he can get in for, more times than not, he's gotten in lately. Now, sure, he, Hostiles, he missed for. That one was more of a long shot. And Ford v. Ferrari in a more competitive category. Those are probably the two exceptions. But otherwise, like Vice he got in for, Big Short he got in for. So yeah, so I'm very, very pumped on Amsterdam. So I can see that picture. I can even see Russell getting in for director. I have him in right now, but he's like a 5th spot for sure. He's lower on that list. Screenplay, I can see it getting in for Best Actor for Christian Bale. But I was trying to figure out who else can get in. Margot Robbie is going to have a lead role. They could bump her to supporting for this, which would probably be the smarter tactic there. We'll see if it actually counts as a supporting role, though. Sometimes that helps, and sometimes it hurts. But she's got a lead role in Babylon from Damien Chazelle. We'll get to that one later, I'm sure. But still, yeah, that one I'm curious about to see like who in the supporting cast can really sneak in there and maybe get a nomination for supporting actor. Mike Myers, maybe. Michael Shannon. Michael Shannon is a very well-respected actor. If he has a funny kind of scene-stealing role, I could see him get in. Rami Malek, he just won last time up. De Niro. De Niro could be he could be one of those actors that's nominated, across several decades now. He missed, I think, everything in the 2000s and the aughts, but yeah, the 2010s he got a couple nominations there. One for producing for The Irishman, but the other one was acting. But yeah. And I don't know if just from the basis of the trailer, it almost looks like his role is more like a politician's role. He'll give a couple speeches and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, on the surface, kind of the way I felt like actually with the Hawkeye. Oh God, Jeremy Renner. Kind of like in the trailers, his role in American Hustle, I'm like, that's the one that's going to get nominated. But then as we saw the film, it's like, oh, Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper's the one that's getting in for this. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, at this point, it looks like De Niro would get that role. But again, let's watch out for somebody like Michael Shannon or Mike Myers or one of those other ones, maybe to be the more bid for supporting actor in that one. And then I think in the crafts categories, it could score a couple for like production design, costume design, maybe not for cinematography, but potentially for editing. David O. Russell's films have been pretty strong in the editing category as of late, again, outside of Joy. And it is Emmanuel Lubezki shooting this one. That's true. But yeah, Jay Cassidy, his standard editor, is on this one too. So yeah, I don't know if it breaks 10, but it's definitely in the range where it can get into the double digits, the way that American Hustle did. Okay, another one I'm very intrigued about. This one, Tar, or I believe that's how you pronounce it, or maybe it's Tear, because it's got that weird thing. Todd Field, who hasn't directed something in a while, he's back with Cate Blanchett in this one. Unfortunately, without having seen, I don't know if there's a trailer for this one or not. It's going to be at Venice, which it'll be exciting to see that one there. And it's a longer film, though, 2 hours and 40 minutes almost. So, oof. Again, I'm a little mixed on some of those. Like, some of them, if they're long, I'm like, I don't care. Like, The Irishman, I was like, I don't care how long that movie is. It's not long enough. But then it ended up being too long. Or even Suspiria, the remake of Suspiria, I was happy with the runtime on that one when it was announced, and I'm like, yes, I can look forward to that one being a longer watch. But yeah, with this one, yeah, it sounds like a very intriguing premise. There, she plays a conductor, musical conductor there, and I believe it's fictional. I believe she's a fictional character, but yeah, you've got Mark Strong, Julian Glover of not only Game of Thrones, but also James Bond and Indiana Jones and Star Wars fame. He's popped up in a lot of stuff. Yeah, it sounds like an interesting project for sure. And yeah, to see Todd Field come back, let's see if it goes anywhere. The safe bet right now, I think, is it gets Cate Blanchett in for actress, and that's it. But yeah, just at this stage, that's where I'm at. But we'll see if it can break into some more categories. Till, this one I've seen the trailer for. Again, I think this one plays for Best Actress for Danielle Deadwyler, who is the mother of Emmett Till. I'm familiar with the story though, and it's definitely one of those it's a black eye on history kind of moment there, yeah, for sure. It's gonna be at New York Film Festival, but unfortunately that's like a week before it opens, which again, generally speaking, that generally is not a good sign when stuff like that comes up. And the trailer for it, I was not wowed by the trailer. Just from the empathy that we would get with that character and stuff. That's why I think Deadwyler will get in. But again, very much like Harriet, I just, outside of that lead actress category, I don't see it scoring very highly. Even in some of the more expected categories that we would see, like production design, costume design, and etc. Also coming out in October is Triangle of Sadness, which is our Palme d'Or winner at Cannes. So, yeah, let's, you look at Parasite won just a few years ago, and that went on to win Best Picture. And again, traditionally, that's not usually, a good sign, But Titane last year didn't do so hot. Shoplifters got at least nominated in foreign language category, as it was known at the time. Amour was a nominee for Best Picture. Tree of Life was a nominee for Best Picture. The White Ribbon got a few notices here and there. The Pianist was a nominee, and actually won director. Fahrenheit 9/11, that got at least nominated, didn't I? Know it didn't win, but yeah. Secrets and Lies was a nominee back in the 90s. Pulp Fiction, of course, was a nominee. Sex, Lies, and Videotape got quite a bit of notice. Barton Fink got a couple of nods. The Piano got a whole bunch of stuff, as we know. The Mission got a few things. Pele the Conqueror got in for actor, at least. Taxi Driver, yep, we know Taxi Driver. We know MASH. We know some of those other ones as we go back through history there. But generally speaking, it's not always a sure bet that your Palme d'Or winner gets a bunch of Oscar nominations there. It's another 2.5-hour film. This one is from, I believe, Sweden, is it not? This one might be an amalgamation of a lot of other studios. And some people think it can get into some acting categories. I'm sure the acting is good in it, but again, I'll hesitate until we see it get other stuff. Some of those Palme d'Or winners, especially if they're from a overseas country and stuff. Yeah, Halloween Ends. Yeah, that trailer wasn't very good, and the last film wasn't very good. And this one is also coming out day and date, which does not boost any confidence in me. So that one is not a non-player. Black Adam, I've seen the trailer, I think, once in front of Thor or something, and I was like, yeah, Dwayne Johnson as a superhero, it's like, yeah, that sounds good on paper. It sure does, but this one, I don't know. It just doesn't sound very intriguing for me. It feels very been there, done that with some of these like anti-hero type of roles. One I'm very curious about, and it's going to be at both TIFF and at Venice, and not 100% sure because they don't release the schedule until like a day before. But I can see Telluride also playing this one. That's Martin McDonagh's latest, and I'm going to see if I can pronounce it correctly. The Banshees of Inisherin, something like that. It's Irish. I'm not. I've got Irish blood in me, but I can't get into it very well. Anyways, but this one, it really sounds like it's a two-person type story between Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. And I looked through and I'm like, because McDonagh's last film was 3 Billboards, and that was the best film of that year. Even though it had controversies around it. Fuck you people, it was still the best film of that year, and you guys are bitching about nothing. Yeah, okay, I get it. Some people don't like it, but whatever. With this one, though, I'm just looking through, I'm like, looking at the categories, I don't know where to put this film. I just don't know where it can strike, because screenplay in the original category is going to be very competitive this year. The acting categories already look competitive for those two respective. I would imagine they want to put one of them lead and one of them supporting. That's competitive. Director and picture are competitive, so I don't know where to put that one. I'm sure it'll be one of the better films of the year. McDonagh usually does get a lot of really good critical raves with his films, but I'm just not sure what to do with that one. Armageddon Time, James Gray, his last one, Ad Astra, I liked more than most. This did play at Cannes. And I'm going to remind myself what the reviews were for that one. 90% off of 42 reviews. Yeah. I forgot this one was at Cannes, so I haven't read the reviews as of yet, or part of the reviews, or whatever they put here on Rotten Tomatoes. But still, this one, I can see it being one where it gets like an acting nomination or two. Potentially, it could get into picture. I don't see it being, an all-out, picture, director, multiple acting. I don't really know if it's going to jump to that, but yeah, I'm very curious about this one. And Anthony Hopkins, the fact that he's in this one and in The Sun, which we'll get to, I'm very curious about that one too. But yeah, we'll get to that one. I wonder if maybe this is his next nomination, because I remember at the time, yeah, we were kind of talking about it a little bit. We were like, with The Father, it's like, this could be, we know it's the last go for Chadwick that year, but we were thinking it could be the last go for Anthony Hopkins too. So, yeah, let's see here. What else do we got? We get into November now. I don't know about I think it's a documentary. Or no, it's not a documentary. No, it's a biopic. That's right. The Weird the Al Yankovic story, is played by Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe. I'm curious about this one. I don't know if it's a big awards player. It will be at TIFF. I would probably say it's probably one of those midnight shows or something. I think I actually did look at it. It probably is. But I don't know if that necessarily translates into a big Oscar campaign for it. So I'll be curious to see it and see what I can make of it. But I wouldn't immediately hop to that one being a big front runner. And now we get into, not only have Top Gun, but you've got 2 other sequels to Best Picture nominees. I should say, the first Top Gun didn't get a Best Picture nomination, I should clarify. But 3 sequels this year have the potential to break into Best Picture. Maverick being one of them. One of the other ones is Wakanda Forever, Black Panther. And right off the surface, again, I'm not sure what this one is going to look at the Oscars. The fact that the first one was such a kind of cultural milestone and stuff, that, I think, really lent to its Oscar credibility. And the fact that you did have already people from the 2017 Oscars, the year, films of 2017 presented in 2018, Black Panther was already out and breaking box office records and all that stuff by that time. So already the buzz was in the air, like, get Black Panther a Best Picture nominee next year, and it happened. For this one, I mean, visual effects, costume design, production design, all those tech categories, it's got a chance in. I don't know again if it's going to lean heavily into those top categories. The first one struggled with those. It really only landed Best Picture. It couldn't get into director or actor, or supporting actor or screenplay, and I don't see that really changing this time around. But yeah, I just think that one plays text only. The next film is arguably the most anticipated and arguably the placeholder for now for Best Picture, and that's The Fabelmans. That's right, Spielberg. And with this one, I mean, you've got a really good cast here with Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, again, Seth Rogen, Julia Butters, who's from the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Judd Hirsch, Oaks Fagley. You've got a couple other ones. David Lynch shows up in this one. Is probably in a small role, I would imagine. And you've got all the usual suspects here for Spielberg. John Williams, who's probably going to get in for score. Supposedly this and the next Indiana Jones might be his final two projects he'll work on. He's done some other stuff, like he did a theme for for Obi-Wan, but I thought he did a theme for Han Solo too, I think, the Solo movie. But so he still does some stuff. But yeah, you got Tony Kushner helping write the script. This is the first script that Spielberg is writing since Close Encounters, if I remember correctly. You got Janusz Kaminski on camera. You got Michael Kahn in the editing room. You've got all the usual suspects here. And I would say, unless this film absolutely tanks, which I don't think it will, and the fact that this is a TIFF showing, which Spielberg usually stays away from TIFF, usually with The Post and with War Horse and with West Side Story, some of those November, December releases, he waits on those. He doesn't run the festivals. He waits for the film to kind of have its moment there. And Lincoln did like one or two showings maybe prior to it opening. That might have done like one. It didn't do like TIFF or whatever, but still. But this one, the fact that they're going to show it at TIFF is a really good sign. Really good sign. And it's one of my most anticipated of the year for sure. These self-reflexive kind of films can be very, very powerful experiences sometimes. The autobiographical nature of this one is very, very intriguing, especially coming from, I would argue, the best director we've ever seen in Steven Spielberg. Yeah, I'm all on board for this one. And it is my placeholder right now for Best Picture, for Best Director, for Best Supporting Actress, for Michelle Williams, who I think is really knocking on the door to get that win. Paul Dano, I think, gets in. He's my fifth slot because I don't know for supporting actor. I think he's in the lead right now in Gold Derby very early on, but we'll see. I think the fact, even though he hasn't gotten in for like the Brian Williams story and a couple of those other films like Prisoners, some people were arguing he should have had a candidacy for. I think he had 12 Years a Slave the same year. So yeah, I feel like he's been in enough stuff recently. It's like now he's in a role kind of, again, similar to last year with Power of the Dog with Jesse Plemons. It's like he's been in enough stuff, and now he's in a film that we know the Academy is watching. So that's why I argue, because I didn't have him in early. But eventually I'm like, yeah, I can see him getting it. Yeah, this is one of those type of situations there. Early on, I can say that without having seen the film. And then we have The Sun, which I think is probably like, alongside Amsterdam and Babylon and The Fabelmans, this is in my top 5 for most anticipated for sure. Because The Father knocked me out. Not that I had like super high expectations, but I was like, I went into that one like, okay, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Hopkins, and we'll see Olivia Colman and all that. I'm like, it sounds like an intriguing story and stuff. And I had personal family connections to relatives having Alzheimer's and stuff. So I'm like, I'm looking forward to this one. And that one knocked my fucking socks off. That one and Minari are like switching back and forth for my favorite film of that year. Like constantly. So the follow-up, The Sun, which I don't know, which is the third one? The Mother is the third one in this trilogy of plays that Zeller did. Right away, you've got like Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, Vanessa Kirby. That alone, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. And then you have, and I don't know if this is a joke or if this is for real, but Anthony Hopkins is in this one. He plays a character named Anthony, and Anthony was his name in I believe not the same name in the play, but it was the same name that he was in the film. So, does he show up? That would be a cute little thing to do. That I would be like, okay, yes. That one even if it doesn't make sense, I would still be like, yeah, yeah. That'd be fine. I'd be absolutely fine with that. But yeah, without giving the ball game away on this one I think in the top categories especially is going to do very, very well. I have it getting into 3 acting slots, picture, screenplay. I don't know. I put Zeller in last minute, and I thought it was going to happen for director that year. Weird, because I still can't get over the fact that I had freaking what's his name, who directed the Danish film there. I had him in after he got in after Vinterberg, Thomas Vinterberg. I had him in, and for a minute I had 5 out of 5 on director that year, and then I foolishly took him out. But the argument for Florian Zeller did make sense at the time. And we'll see if he can break into the director's branch this year with The Sun. But this one is also playing, I believe, at both TIFF and Venice, and I could see it popping up at Telluride as well. So I believe it's at both, isn't it? Yeah, I saw it on the list there at TIFF. So yeah, that's playing both. But I am very pumped for that one too. I'll say one I think is going to get overhyped, and people are saying, "Oh, it's an awards contender." I don't think it's going anywhere as The Menu. The trailer for that one makes this looks like more of a popcorn picture. I don't see it as a big Oscar contender. As much as Ralph Fiennes, I think, is an overlooked actor, and he probably should have been nominated. Very much should have been nominated for the Grand Budapest Hotel, even though that was a pretty stacked year for Best Actor. I still would have put him in. The fact that he's in this is nice. You know, Anya Taylor-Joy's in it. Nicholas Hoult, Hong Chow, who I haven't seen probably since Downsizing. She got a lot of flack for that, even though she was one of the better parts of the movie. Janet McTeer's in this, Judith Light, and John Leguizamo. So it's a good cast and everything there. But the trailer and everything here, this tells me no. This tells me no. I'm not seeing this one as a big Oscar player. So yeah, I'm saying no to that one. I'm curious about this one, She Said, which is a pretty contemporary story. It's the, Harvey Weinstein kind of, unraveling that story and stuff. Carey Mulligan and Zoe Kazan are the stars here, playing 2 real-life journalists. So again, there's a little bit of I can see this one being kind of a connection to stuff like All the President's Men and everything. Kind of feels that contemporary kind of feel there. Patricia Clarkson is in this. Samantha Morton is in this. Jennifer Ale. And I thought I saw one more name I recognized. But anyways. And this one... I'm very curious about it. It's opening... it might be the opening film at New York Film Festival this year. I thought I might have read that somewhere. Now I'm not seeing it. It will have its world premiere. I don't think it's the opening film, though. And for New York, yeah, I think there's going to be some crossovers for that one, too. White Noise, Bones and All, some of these that don't have release dates yet. Yeah, we'll get into it. But and Maria Schrader, didn't she do... What was the thing she did? Because I recognize that name for sure. Unorthodox. Okay, she won an Emmy for that. Okay. I was saying the name was familiar. So, yeah. But it sounds like this is kind of one of her first big films. So, yeah, we'll see where she can go with that. Again, very could be in the same vein as something like all the President's Men and stuff. So I'm curious about it. I don't know if it's necessarily one that I immediately I don't have it in right now for picture, but it feels like an 11, 12, like it's right on the doorstep for sure. Let's see, going also through November, Luca Guadagnino's. I believe this is a spiritual sequel to Call Me by Your Name. Is Bones and All. Which actually does also star quite a few people from that one. Timothée Chalamet, Michael Stuhlbarg, and I thought I saw one other cast member from Call Me by Your Name, not Armie Hammer, obviously, but yeah, this one will be at Venice. I don't know if it'll be at Telluride, but Venice feels like the more landing place for that. Taylor Russell and Mark Rylance are also in this. Andre Holland, Chloe Sevigny, Jessica Harper, David Gordon Green. So a few names in there. Chalamet is also producing this, which I did not know until this moment, but that's interesting. but yeah, I really have over the years. Call Me by Your Name has stuck with me. That's a really good film, for sure. And Suspiria, I've only watched it the one time, but I was down for Suspiria. I like that one. So anything Luca's doing next, I'm like, sign me up. I'm interested. So this one, it sounds like it's a more heterosexual relationship this time. Cannibalistic lovers too. That's interesting. So I can see this one potentially being a player in some categories. Potentially best actor and actress. Maybe Luca for director this time. Maybe it'd be one of those weird ones where maybe he doesn't make the list for best picture, which sounds really weird because we thought that might happen last year with Drive My Car, but that still got in. So we'll see. But yeah, that one I'm curious about. Let's see. Next one here. Women Talking. So that one and She Said, just the two titles almost sound very similar. So I can see a scenario where some voters might only pick one to go through. And I don't know if that's, again, going to be a big, thing against the films or how that's going to go. But it will be at TIFF and it will also be at New York Film Festival. You got a pretty stacked cast in this one too. Frances McDormand, Rooney Mara, Claire Foy, and Jesse Buckley and Ben Whishaw. So that's a good cast there. And McDormand is also producing this one, which she did on Nomadland. Sarah Polley is directing this one. Take This Waltz. I've heard good things about that one. And then she's done acting. Yeah, she's more again one of these actresses turned directors, which Away from Her got some buzz at the time. I don't think that got nominated for anything, did it? Oh yeah, of course, Best Actress. Yes. Julie Christie. Yes, and did get in. She herself was nominated for screenplay. So yeah, so she's an Oscar nominee for that. Let's see here. So I guess it's based on a book. But yeah, that one, if it's going to run some of the circuits here for fall festivals and stuff, then yeah, it's probably a good bet to get a few things here and there. Let's see, then we have Empire of Light, which is from Sam Mendes, and yes, Roger Deakins is 100% getting nominated for this. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are doing the score, which is very intriguing. The trailer just came out for this today, so it's a good trailer, and kind of like we've seen with some of these more recent films, when you have these the kind of loving film type stories, they can hit. And Sam Mendes, I think, is one, especially after 1917. I think the Academy is going to be very interested in this. Olivia Colman, I have her as a front runner right now for Best Actress. You got Michael Ward in this, Colin Firth, and Toby Jones. Toby Jones actually looks like he might have. It looks like a more narratorial role, but we'll see if maybe he's a contender for his first nomination, potentially in supporting actor for this. But that one I'm interested in. Very much interested in that one. Let's see. Then we have... actually, there's... I didn't mention it. There's another film from Mark Foster that's coming out this fall. I did catch up with Finding Neverland here a little while back. I was really impressed with that one. I really like that one. But he's got A Man Called Otto, which is a remake of A Man Called Ove from Sweden. Tom Hanks is the star of that one. It sounds like... we'll see if... lately, he's really struggled to get into those acting categories, so I'm going to say he's not in right now, but... what was the other one he was doing? I skipped right past it, whatever it was. For the next one, this is the other sequel to a Best Picture nominee, Avatar: The Way of Water. I gotta say, I wasn't really sure about this, because the first Avatar has not stuck with me very well. I did rewatch it here about a year or two ago, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. Kind of like, in the way Titanic, it's weird because these were two of the two highest grossing films when they were released and stuff and all that. I think with Titanic, that was one I grew up with, so there was always a thing where I'm like, yeah, I really like that one. And then I got into a phase there where I'm like, oh, this is the most overrated, overhyped. Yeah, the romance is not very good. Blah blah blah, all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, I think I stand by some of those criticisms. They're a good looking couple on screen, Kate Winslet and Leo DiCaprio, of course, but that love story is old hat and been there, done that. Romeo and Juliet, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. Forbidden romance and all that. Boring. And I still admit, yeah, It's still well shot, obviously. Costume design, production design, all the meticulous detail goes into that stuff in the earlier sequences where they're on the boat. After the Southampton scene, that scene, just the score too. The score is awesome in that movie. Yeah, even after that sequence, I'm like, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, now the film gets a little boring. Until we get to that iceberg scene. Oh my god. For whatever reason, it just popped up on YouTube, like, I want to say like a year ago or something, and I rewatched. I'm like, I forgot how amazing the iceberg sequence is. Holy shit! I mean, that scene gets you tense immediately. Really good, and the score to that too. That is one of the best sequences in that whole film. And yeah, it's still to this day, I think, yeah, some of the romance stuff in the first half doesn't work as well. And then you get to the second half, and growing up, it was the sinking scenes. Those are the ones I would rewind and watch over and over. That was the second tape from the VHS release. That was the one where I'm like, yeah, that's the one I rewatched the most, because the first one I would get bored with. But especially after the Southampton sequence. But yeah, after that it was like downhill. But yes, the sinking, and still to this day, the effects with the sinking sequence and everything, that still holds up really well. And some of those like model shots, and they blend in very well with the digital and with everything else. And yeah, definitely ahead of its time for the visual effects and everything. But say Avatar, or Titanic, I've kind of come back around on that one, because there was a period there where I'm like, oh, it's the most overrated. Yeah, even the second half I was still like, but now that I did rewatch it last summer, I think, and I was like, no, the whole back half of the picture really holds up. Some of the sequences here and there scattered through hold up. Other ones are more boring and stuff, sure. But I've kind of come more around on that one. So I'll see if Avatar has the same effect over the years here. And obviously that one, it was more for the money. It didn't get all the Oscar fame behind it and stuff. But the cultural footprint of Avatar, I don't think, is very noticeable in today's world, outside of everything being released in 3D nowadays. But still. So I'm very curious to see what this one's going to do at the Oscars. Now, as far as what it's going to do at the box office, I'm guaranteeing you this is going to be very close, if not exceeding $2 billion in gross. Very much, I think that's a very high possibility. And even if the U.S. total, I think it's still going to be strong. I think it's still a 200 million plus opening in that range in December. It's going to be probably over 400 million here in the States, if not exceeding that, closer to what probably Top Gun is getting right now. So that's in the high $600 million range at worst. But I can see this thing pushing, because people forget the first Avatar was just shy of $2.8 billion. Over $2 billion came from overseas markets. The overseas markets is where Avatar is going to make its money, hand over fist. It's going to make money here in the States, absolutely. But where it's going to make hand over fist money, getting into the billions and billions of dollars, probably the first $2 billion movie we'll see since Endgame, if I'm remembering correctly. It's going to be this one. It's 100% going to be this one. So, yeah, for those, I don't know how many of you are out there doubting it for getting a good box office haul. This is going to be the biggest box office film of the year worldwide, absolutely. Now, as far as the Oscars go, I'm not sure. But I do have to say, the first trailer, we saw it in front of the one of my friends that I went with for Doctor Strange. He was like over the moon. He was like just like ready to piss his pants in excitement for the fact that we were going to get the first teaser for Avatar. And when that Fox logo came up, and then we saw Lightstorm, I'm like, this is it. And then it was like, it was nice. It was a nice little trailer. And then what's weird is since then I've rewatched it a few times, and it's like each time I'm like, I find a couple more things here and there where I'm like, that looks beautiful. It does look like it's just beautifully shot. There's the one little brief shot where he's the Jake character's, he's got his hand on the whale or something, and his hand is scratching just under the surface of the water. That shot is gorgeous. Just absolutely gorgeous. And whenever this movie comes out, however long it is, I'm definitely going to see the movie at least once for that sequence, because that looks like that's going to be a beautiful sequence. So it's weird, because this one, I over the years, I was kind of telling myself, I'm like, this Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, they're not going to happen. They're just taking too long. It's just never going to be. They just kept pushing back the principal photography. And so I'm like, it's just never going to happen. It's coming now. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have, because the first Avatar is going to get re-released here in the next few weeks. When that comes re-released, we're going to get our second trailer, I'll bet, and we'll see we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, I'm very interested in this one. Definitely, and again, as far as what it's going to do with the Oscars, though, I don't have it in for picture, not for director. I would say it's got a chance at still breaking into picture, but I don't see it getting in for director unless this really outdoes what the first Avatar did, as far as some of its filming and everything there. I don't see it as a contender for screenplay. I don't really see it, for acting and stuff. And most of it's going to be digital anyways, which I think the acting branch is really not on board with yet. Obviously, visual effects, it's going to be the front runner there for visual effects. That's by no means a, throw dart at the wall. Yeah, that's an easy get. But even that being said, in this trailer right away, I was like, man, I remember seeing Avatar in the theater and being like blown away at how advanced the visual effects were. These look much superior. Whatever Cameron did with his visual effects and everything, light years ahead of the first film. Even though it was 13 years ago now, and we've seen Life of Pi, we've seen some other visual effects triumphs over the years and stuff. This is a far and ahead, way more advanced than the first one. Even the first close-up where we saw whatever her name is, the Zoe Saldana character, that first close-up, I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, yes, this is going to be good. The effects are going to be much better in this. I'm not sure if this is getting a theatrical release, but Matilda the musical. This one I'm curious about. I'm curious about it because the first Matilda, yeah, it's one I go back to. It's a fun movie for sure. But it sounds like this is going just to Netflix, outside of Sony Pictures in the UK, from what I'm seeing here. But yeah, this one it's like Emma Thompson. You got Andrea Riseborough again, Stephen Graham. Yeah, it looks like it'll be an interesting one. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna hold such a good place in my heart for that first film. I don't know what this one is gonna do, but Lashana Lynch is in this too. Yeah. Who she plays Miss Honey? I'm imagining. Yes, she does. I thought I'd heard that. Yeah, I'm like, yeah. If you want to mix it up and have her be a black character, I'm like, that's a good role to pick. I like that. So I'm interested in that one. Again, I'm going to hold such a close place for that first film that I don't know if this one can exceed it. Just the craziness of that one. The fact that Danny DeVito is kind of let loose on that one as a director. Wow. Let's see here. Otherwise, for animated, probably the last one I'll mention here is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I don't know. DreamWorks has a little more mixed history of getting into the animated feature category. But and the first one, as I recall, did not get nominated. But yeah. Let's see. Then we'll have the Whitney Houston biopic with "I Want to Dance with Somebody." Now, the Respect last year did not do so hot. So I'm not sure about this one. It's also Cassie Lemons is directing this. She just did Harriet, and unfortunately that one was a bit of a letdown as well. She could bounce back with this one. She could very easily bounce back with this one. And there were moments, I think, in her directing there in Harriet where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind her getting another project. Did it look like it was made for TV? Absolutely. Does the poster for this hint at that slightly? A little bit. Just a little bit. Not as, Harriet looked like a movie, but in the posters and the trailers and stuff. But then we saw the movie, we're like, oh, this does feel like a BBC or a PBS kind of thing. We'll see if this one looks better from that aspect of it. But still, you got a good story there from with Whitney Houston and some of her uprising and stuff and everything. And if you weren't going to name it "I Will Always Love You," you had to name it "I Want to Dance with Somebody." So it was one of those two titles, I'm sure. Oh, and also I didn't realize this. My arch nemesis wrote the screenplay of this, Anthony McCartan. For whatever reason, I just do not like his scripts. I mean, I don't mind his dialogue. Like Darkest Hour had some good dialogue in it, for sure. But I didn't love the screenplay of that. The Theory of Everything, the screenplay was one of the worst parts of that movie, and somehow that got nominated and won at BAFTA. Ugh, no. Bohemian Rhapsody, I was not a big fan of the script on that one. And I still have to catch up with The Two Popes, which is based on a play he did. And that one, just on the surface, yeah, looks like it would be one I would probably enjoy. But this guy's still my nemesis. Fuck him. He doesn't get in for this. I have decided. But okay. We'll move on. Just two left here for what's on the calendar. And then we'll get to the stuff that's not on the calendar. And then we'll get to my first predictions. Very curious about Glass Onion. This is the sequel to Knives Out. Rian Johnson is directing this one again. And he's brought back Daniel Craig. And again, as much as I liked that whole cast and that ensemble in the first film, I'm like, if they're doing a sequel, it's like the only one I really want to see come back that has to come back or else it's not even worth it is Daniel Craig. And it was, yep, he's back. And you got a good cast in this one with him, Edward Norton, Janelle Monáe, Catherine Hahn, Leslie Odom Jr. You got Kate Hudson, Dave Bautista, and Ethan Hawke in this one. It does look like it runs a little longer than the first one. The first one was like 2 hours 10. This one's 2 hours 20. Let's see here. It's really going to be interesting to see because I guess there's some... I've heard a couple stories here recently about the film's distribution because this is coming from Netflix, which I was really disappointed when they said that Netflix was going to do the two sequels to this because I'm like, the first Knives Out was it was kind of a word-of-mouth film, but it did very well at the box office. $40 million production budget, probably you double that to get with the P&A and everything. So for $80 million, roughly around that, minus any back-end deals, $311 million worldwide. That's a win. That's a win. So why they would go to Netflix with this, I guess it's for the money, but still. Yeah, and yeah, definitely the first Knives Out is one I've gone back to and said, yeah, this is a fun movie. I remember seeing that the same day as The Irishman, and I preferred Knives Out. True story. This one will be at TIFF, which is exciting. Yeah, so I'm excited for that one. I'm curious to see where the story's going to go. And yeah, some of these mystery ones, like Amsterdam, kind of feels like it'll have a little bit of that too. So that'll be interesting. Okay, and then probably the biggest film out this Christmas season and toward the end of the year is Babylon, which looks like it's going to be an epic from Damien Chazelle. And this is going to be potentially a big comeback for him. Because he had Whiplash, which was the kind of surprise movie, which when it came out, we were like, yeah, it looked like J.K. Simmons had a good spot in it. But then it took off, and we were like a buzz about it's going to get picture, it's going to get screenplay, it's going to get editing, and it did. And it won a lot of those sound, one of the sound categories it won for too. That one and editing it won for. And J.K. Simmons, of course. Yeah, and I remember some people went into it and they thought it was going to be Whiplash for screenplay too, just because it was such that, kind of hit movie. The kind of discovery movie of that year. Very much the way that Parasite was a few years later. So this one, and then he followed it up with La La Land, which was 14 nominations, and the biggest, I'm sure for them, a big letdown when it only won 6 and was projected to win like 10. Or come close to tying Titanic and Ben-Hur with 11. Like, expectations were very high for that one. And then he had First Man, which took a little bit of a critical dive. I still really liked First Man, but and that one really disappointed at the box office, really, really disappointed at the Oscars, even though it was fairly consistent across some of the early award shows and stuff, with Critics' Choice being its favorite when that got like director and picture and stuff. But it failed to get picture nominations at like the Globes and BAFTA and everything. But still, let's see about Babylon, because this also has an epic cast with Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie as the two leads. And then you had Samara Weaving, you have Max Minghella, you have Catherine Waterston, Flea, you have Lucas Haas, you have PJ Byrne, you have Olivia Wilde, Spike Jonze, Tobey Maguire, Gene Smart, Jeff Garlin. This is a very stacked cast as well. It looks like a production budget is reported to be over $100 million, and it is set in the jazz age of the 20s, making sense. And also, it has to do with Hollywood, and again, kind of like Singing in the Rain and a few of those other ones. The Artist probably being the last one, going from silent film to talkies. And I wouldn't be surprised when we see the trailer here to see if maybe part of the film is silent and then it transitions to sound. That sounds like something that Damien Chazelle would do. I haven't read that, so if that's actually correct, then and it's been announced, I just didn't see it, but it would make sense. Um, and supposedly there's going to be some. Clara Bow is who Margot Robbie's playing. Maguire is supposedly playing Charlie Chaplin, though I don't know that's 100% confirmed. And that's a on the surface it sounds like a weird piece of casting, but then you think about it and you do some side by sides and stuff. You're like, I can kind of picture it. I can kind of picture it because this is going to be when Chaplin kind of takes a downfall. Which again, if it's on paper, that sounds like that could be a very nominatable role. To see the king of Hollywood all of a sudden become just really lost before he comes back with come on, the Great Dictator. Before he comes back with that, it's like, wow, it's like he kind of disappeared there for a while. And there was also the political stuff that happened with him too, and all that. Otherwise, you got Linus Sandgren coming back to shoot this one. Tom Cross again in the editing chair. Justin Hurwitz doing the score again. So again, like Spielberg, it's very much the usual suspects here. Yeah, this cinematography year is going to be crazy nuts. We've named 7, 8 films that could get in for cinematography. So this one, yeah, let's really quickly let's just name those: Babylon, Avatar, Empire of Light for sure because it's Roger Deakins. I could even see Bones and All potentially being a cinematography. Fabelmans, yes. The first one didn't get in, but it probably should have for cinematography. Black Panther. We'll see about the second one, but just from the shots on that one looks beautiful too. Amsterdam's got Lubeski behind it, so maybe. We mentioned potentially Top Gun, so yeah, that's a lot of movies to consider there. All right, let's look through the rest of what's scheduled to come out but hasn't gotten a release date yet. There's a few of those. So let's start with probably the one I have the highest expectations for. That's Bardo, which does have a subtitle, but I'm forgetting what it is. But it's the return of Iñárritu, Alejandro González Iñárritu, who The Revenant was still really good. Birdman, of course, a very excellent film. And this one is about a, I believe, Mexican journalist. And it sounds like, again, this is going to be an epic. This is going to be like a 3-hour film and stuff. But from the surface, this sounds like picture, director, actor, possibly supporting actress, screenplay. This sounds like a real deal. It's going to do well. And I would, if I had to guess, this is also going to be a player for cinematography because it's also shot by Lubeski. I'll bet you. Bet you anything because he worked back to back with Alejandro Iñárritu. Oh no, it's Darius Khondji. Who is actually a past nominee for Evita. Yeah, so that one, and that one is going to be at Venice. Potentially, I could see that one popping up at Telluride, coming out from Netflix. So that's probably, on the surface, that's probably Netflix's big player this year. Again, unless there's one I'm totally forgetting about, other than Glass Onion. But I don't really see that as a Best Picture nominee right now. And that one, I'm not sure if it can get in because it'll be in the adapted category this time, which is a little less crowded. I'm shaky on that one getting in for screenplay. Okay, let's see what else. The Whale. I'm very interested in The Whale because the first pictures came out for that one, and Brendan Fraser. It looks like he's put on some weight to play a 600-pound man, and the gal from Stranger Things, which I've yet to see. Plays his estranged daughter, and it sounds like he wants to get in a relation, get that father-daughter relationship good again. He also had a homosexual lover in the past that has either died or gotten into an accident or something. I read a little bit of the synopsis, and it's Darren Aronofsky, who's he's been kind of on and off the road here with Black Swan, and then eventually with Mother and stuff. So it's like, ooh, we'll see. But just on the surface, I believe that one is also going to be at TIFF. Or is it? Maybe it's at both. I think it's at both. TIFF and Venice, and then it is at both. And I can see again that one could pop up at Telluride, and I would not blink an eye in surprise. So I have that one getting a few things for sure. So that one, we'll talk about that one for some of these other categories. White Noise, Noah Baumbach's film, I'm very interested in. I read that it was a book and everything. I haven't read the book, but I saw that was a book, and I kind of looked into the plot a little bit. I'm like, that sounds good. That sounds good to me. So I'm excited about that one. I believe, that might be Netflix. Because I thought when he made Marriage Story, the whole idea was that they were also going to go through Netflix for his next couple of films. But yeah, we'll get back to this one. But Netflix, Adam Driver's the lead role. Greta Gerwig, his wife, is in the film and is not writing it this time. Raffi Cassidy, she's popped up in a couple things. I know her name. Alessandra Nivola is also in this one. Jodie Turner-Smith and Don Cheadle. So good cast in that one. Let's see here. For other stuff that doesn't have a release date yet. Living, I don't think has a release date yet. That's kind of like one of those old people gets an ailment. Bureaucrat gets an ailment, I think was one of the literal descriptions I read. Let's see here. Otherwise, I think we've named a lot of other stuff. I don't know if it's going to get a release, when it would get the release here in the U.S., but the German remake of All Quiet on the Western Front has me very curious to see if that can break into Best Picture. At this stage, I would imagine it's probably a good shot to get in for Best International Feature. Germany did officially select it today as their entry. So, the day I'm shooting this, I should say. So, and it makes sense on the surface there. Go back to the 1930 film, and that won Best Picture at the time. Only the third film to do so. And there was a 70s remake I haven't seen, but I remember we watched in class in high school the original, and then I saw it again in college. And and I read the book both times, and I was like, that's a damn good book. Very well written, and very much puts you into that experience of World War I. And it has kind of, over time, I think, become the definitive World War I movie and story and book and everything. There's not really one for World War II, though. There's so many things with World War II. But World War I think that really summarized a lot of how that combat went in that war and what the experience was like and everything. Better than most anything else that's out there. So, yeah, that's fine. Okay. Otherwise, I just looked through and I'm like, yeah, I think that was mostly everything. So, yeah, let's get these predictions out of the way here for who's in, who's out early on in the stage. Again, Fabelmans is my front runner right now as a placeholder. I'm sure it's going to do very well at TIFF, and it's going to come out strong. Will be a double-digit nominee potentially. Spielberg's record is 12 with Lincoln. This could tie it, or it could surpass it if it does maybe exceedingly well. It would probably be in those acting categories. That's where it would have to overdo it, I think. Babylon is in second place. Amsterdam I have way up in third. Some people are, again, very doubting that one. Bardo I have in fourth. The Sun in fifth. Everything Everywhere All at Once in sixth. I do have Top Gun in at number 7. White Noise in 8th. The Whale for number 9. And Empire of Light I do have number 10. So the two, She Said and Women Talking, I have both those out right now. I feel like I probably will put one of those in. I'm just not sure who to take out right now and which one of those two would get in. I would say maybe for the modern part of it, probably She Said will feel a little more urgent. And again, we'll have that kind of, like we talked about, the parallels to something like All the President's Men, which it wasn't the front runner that year, but it was definitely one of those where it's like, if it had walked away with Best Picture that year, I don't think too many people would have been surprised. I believe Rocky was probably the favorite, with Network being the one to upset if it was going to be not Rocky, but I think All the President's Men was definitely in there. And even Taxi Driver, I think that year, I'm sure got a lot of votes for Best Picture too. Let's see here. So for the ones that Gold Derby, at least right now, is putting up there for high possibilities, you've got Avatar getting some votes, Triangle of Sadness getting some votes, Tar, Elvis, Banshees of Inisherin. Again, I'm going to go with that one until I get told I'm wrong. Armageddon Time, Don't Worry Darling, Black Panther, Nope. A couple people voting for the Batman, but we'll see. Okay, for Best Director, again, I have Spielberg out front here, Damien Chazelle, Alejandro Iñárritu. The Danielses for Everything Everywhere All at Once, I have them in. And David O. Russell for Amsterdam. Let's see here. Let's look at, as far as one of those international films getting in, Triangle of Sadness, Ruben Östlund, we're hearing it here first. That could get in. The other one that early on people are calling for is Decision to Leave, which is Park Chan-wook. Decision to Leave, I don't know if that has a release date or not. Sam Mendes, I don't think, at this rate, I would probably put him 6th. Because I think we early on overlooked Sam Mendes, and then, yeah, he did get in, obviously. Florian Zeller, I would also watch out for here. Todd Field, Maria Schrader, we mentioned. James Cameron, I'm much lower on the list, I think, for this. I would argue, Aronofsky could have a better shot. Luca Guadagnino could have a better shot here early on. In the Best Actor category, I'm putting him ahead right now. As funny as it might have sounded 2 years ago, Brendan Fraser. I've got him out front for The Whale. Those transformative roles are always a good placeholder. I had Christian Bale out front for a long, long time for Vice that year. I felt like it got close that year. Obviously, Rami took over partway through the season after SAG, but still, I was like, that was one I felt like might come true. Hugh Jackman, right away, I think other people, if you're not picking in this category Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser, you're picking Hugh Jackman right now. And he is definitely one after his only nomination so far has been for Les Mis, but with the work he's done, especially in Prisoners, God, and again, that was a very competitive year as well for Best Actor, but that is his best work, dramatic work for sure. So The Son, I think he's got a good chance, not knowing the role, but I'm sure it's a good role. I can easily see him getting in for this. Then we have the lead actor from Bardo, who is Daniel Gimenez Cacho. That just sounds on paper like, that's one that's going to come through. Adam Driver I have in for White Noise, and I'm putting in Christian Bale for Amsterdam. Again, just because I'm high on Amsterdam right now. Funny as that sounds, yes. Otherwise, Living, the main role in that is Bill Nighy, who this would definitely be one of those Lifetime Achievement nomination type deals. I could very easily see that happening. I do have Austin Butler out for the moment. Again, I'm the Taron Egerton thing is kind of sticking with me right now. Let's see here. Some people are high on Brad Pitt in Babylon. I'll wait till we see the film. Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin. Let's see, a couple people are picking Adam Sandler for Hustle, which I think was out earlier this year. And just from the trailer stuff, I'm like, maybe if he couldn't get very far with Uncut Gems, I'm not 100% on him getting in for that one. Let's see, Timothée Chalamet for Bones and All, potentially. I think they're going to run Gabriel LaBelle, who plays the young version, who would be Spielberg in The Fabelmans. I'll see if they do put both Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell in lead for Banshees. I would imagine they want to do one of them in supporting. More likely Brendan Gleeson in supporting. That way it actually does stand a shot of getting 2 nominations in the acting categories there. But again, as in the way you probably should argue that year when Netflix did it for The Two Popes, we'll see if that argument is even there for this one. Okay, for Best Actress, again, I've Olivia Colman out front right now for Empire of Light as the placeholder, I should say. Margot Robbie in second for Babylon. I have Michelle Yeoh in for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Kate Blanchett for Tar, and then Daniel Deadwyler for Till. And those are the 5 favorites right now by Gold Derby, and I agree. We have Naomi Ackie, who's playing Whitney Houston in I Want to Dance with Somebody. Again, if this goes down the road of respect, that's probably going to be the result. Some people are high on Viola Davis. Again, I'm just not very high on that one right now either. Women Talking, Frances McDormand has a shot for sure. Carey Mulligan also, I think, especially after Promising Young Woman, I can see her, if the film comes through and is, very much, an expected film and stuff, I can see her getting in. I don't know if it's enough to... early on, we'll see what the competition is, but we'll see if that's a good comeback win for her. Ana de Armas for Blonde, I think we have to mention. Let's see here. I think right now those are the ones that are standing out to me. Yeah. And again, Margot Robbie, especially, they could run her again in supporting for Amsterdam, but if she is a lead in that, Babylon's the much better bet for that. Yeah. Playing a, very classical Hollywood actress and stuff. Yeah. For supporting actor, I'm going to go with Short Round. Ke Huy Quan, he's back. I'm excited. I like him as Short Round, and yes, as Data from the Goonies. Even though, Short Round gets a little annoying at times. But yeah, Ke Huy Quan. I'm sure. I heard a description that he's a scene stealer in the movie. I'm like, as soon as I heard that and I saw his name, I'm like, I'm putting him out front. I know we saw the grandma from Minari win here a couple years ago. But to see another Asian or Asian American, I think in this case he might be Asian American. I'll have to look up his birthplace and stuff another time. But to see another one win, I don't think anybody would bat an eye at it, especially somebody who has Hollywood history, unlike the grandma from Minari, who we all met when we saw the film. But yes, I'm putting him out front, and I think it's a film. I think if the popularity continues as it is, they'll want to give it something. So I can see even screenplay is probably the best bet right now. But if it's going to win anything else, I think this is the spot. Triangle of Sadness does have Woody Harrelson. I can see him getting nominated there. Anthony Hopkins for Armageddon Time is in there as well for me. Robert De Niro for Amsterdam, and Paul Dano for The Fabelmans. Ben Whishaw for Women Talking has some popularity there. Michael Ward, especially after I saw the trailer now and I see kind of the forbidden romance, what that role is going to play, he could get in. I would say he's probably a good bet on paper again. Zen McGrath plays plays the son in The Son, who I believe has it's either a mental illness or mental incapacity. It was all that kind of stuff with that one. Let's see, Don Cheadle for White Noise, Barry Keoghan for Banshees of Inisherin. We'll see about that one. Again, Ralph Fiennes, but again, I don't know about Ralph Fiennes. I'd like to see him nominated if it's a really, really good role, and it looks like it's a pretty devilish kind of role, but I don't know that movie's going to hit. Some people are strong on possibly Tom Hanks for Elvis, but I'd say The Man Called Otto is probably his better bet in lead actor. Russell Crowe, potentially for greatest beer run ever, but again, we'll see, because Green Book really surprised us at TIFF that year. And yep, a couple people do have Tobey Maguire in for Babylon. All right, 3 categories left. Let's keep going here. Supporting actress, again, Michelle Williams, early frontrunner for me. I have both Vanessa Kirby and Laura Dern getting in for The Son. We have seen that tradition, I should say, go on for several years now, where we see 2 people nominated in the same category for the same film. Let's recap, shall we? Woody Harrelson and eventual winner Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards, then Rachel Weisz and Emma Stone for The Favorite, and then we got Joe Pesci and Al Pacino for The Irishman. Surprised us in 2020 with the 2 guys getting in for come on now, Daniel Kaluuya. Yep, that one. Oh God, I'm sorry, I got to move on. This video's too long, but yes, otherwise I would look it up. Both of them got in for supporting actor. And last year, Belfast. No. Power of the Dog. That's what I meant. Jesse Plemons and Cody Smith-McPhee. I knew that, yeah. So we've seen that go through. And I looked at it this year. I'm like, 2 people from Fabelmans and supporting actor. Maybe Seth Rogen, but I don't know. Then I was like, oh wait, The Son. Yes. Both Vanessa Kirby, who I think people are looking, after she got her first nomination for Pieces of a Woman. I got there. Pieces of a Woman. One of my favorite films that year as well. I think people will want her to get a second nomination. Laura Dern, even though she just won her first Oscar, I can see people wanting her to get another nomination. So I both them in. Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm just pronouncing that right now, so hopefully that's correct. And Jean Smart for Babylon. So I think one of the first ones I think that could get in Women Talking is Jessie Buckley. She kind of surprised us a little bit last year, even though I would have definitely voted for her to get in. When I watched the film The Lost Daughter, I was like, she is stealing this movie. And when she showed up, I was like, I probably should have seen it coming, but she's excellent. So yes, I was not disappointed with that at all. From She Said, Samantha Morton sounds like she might have one of the better roles in that one, but again, with such a big cast in that one, I can see other players potentially. Sadie Sink for The Whale could, with the popularity of Netflix and everything with Stranger Things, I can see her name popping up and people being like, I know who she is. And especially if it's a film they're watching, then oh yeah, that can happen. And Claire Foy is another one from Women Talking. But again, Claire Foy, she couldn't get in for First Man, which was surprising because she was excellent in that film. Arguably one of the more dynamic performances for sure. Okay, an original screenplay. This is the tough. This is of the 2 screenplay categories. Sometimes it happens. I remember 2017, it was like everything but Call Me By Your Name in the adapted screenplay category was a non-Best Picture nominee. Everything else that was a Best Picture nominee was contending in original screenplay. So it's going to be very similar to that this year on the surface. So I have Everything Everywhere All at Once as the front runner for now. Then the Fabelmans, Babylon, Amsterdam, and Bardo. So I'm not putting in Empire of Light. I'm not putting in Tar. I'm not putting in Nope. I'm not putting in Armageddon Time. I'm not putting in Banshees of Inisherin. I'm not putting in Triangle of Sadness, which some people think will break in. Decision to Leave, I'm not putting in. Don't Worry, Darling, I'm not putting in. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities here in this category. This will be very tight. This one though, as far as the competition down the list, I think we can get to 5 here pretty easily. After that, some of these films will have a harder time. But The Sun is my front runner. Then She Said, Women Talking, The Whale, and White Noise are my 5 here. And we'll see if one of the White Noise is safe in this category. But we'll see if like The Whale, if something like that. I'm not sure what that's based off of, like a news article or something maybe. But some of these will, and it's more common to happen on the screenplay, on the original screenplay side, where they contend in an original, but then something comes out later, and they have to end up going to adapt it, like Whiplash did, like Moonlight did. So we'll see if something can come over. But otherwise, Glass Onion, some people are strong in. Again, I can see it happening, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on that one yet. Till, again, if you're high on Till, maybe. Living, potentially Elvis, and The Greatest Beer Run Ever, I think I would lean a little more toward, especially since it did win screenplay last time for Green Book. And then I Want to Dance with Somebody and Bones and All are probably the last 2 I'll mention there.